What's up, guys? My name is Terminus, and today we're here with Frieren episode 12. My last reaction was a little bit short. I do apologize for that. I generally, I don't feel bad about it, but I generally like to keep it more on the larger side, on the longer side with my discussions. But last time I just didn't find enough topics to really pick up on. We're kind of in a weird transitional phase where the pacing of the show went from a more action-oriented and confrontation-focused and dramatic kind of arc into more of a transitional period, like I just said, where we do have a lot of emotional, moody themes. We did have that incredible song montage last time that I really want to look at once again and just see what the lyrics say and how we can maybe interpret that. But it was really nice, and it took quite a long time. So, but before that, I actually wanted to discuss a little bit something from the things I actually noticed from episodes 10 and 11, because 10 and 11 are out. Well, I think 10 is out at this point, and rewatching parts of it has actually recontextualized. Like, episode 10 recontextualizes Flum's books being fake, as Flum probably would have taken this as a good thing, right? Because as we find out, Flum actually was a mage who wanted to somewhat be under the radar and not have demons know about her from the get-go, because her life's purpose was eliminating demons, and the less they knew about her, the better, and that is what she passed on to Frieren and taught her. And we do kind of get to know that Flum also has somewhat of a history with demons, where she's been saying that she also lost everything to the demons when Frieren mentioned her losing everything to the demons. So that this is a very interesting aspect that I wonder if we find out something more about that later, and that might also be a couple of episodes ago, I hypothesized about Graf Granat's family actually being descendant from Flum, but what if Flum actually didn't have any descendants aside from her pupils, among which Frieren was the most famous now, and the most promising and the most long-lived, obviously. And that is why there's such a huge contention about, was Flum really even there? Was she an actual person, or was she a myth? That's what people are kind of like wondering about. It's been so long that she's kind of passed into legend almost, and you don't find a lot of her grimoires or her works anymore, because 90% of them are fake. Now, obviously, some people still believe they're the real or whatever, but experts would identify them as fake, as Frieren does too, but Frieren does have her own special ability to detect that, obviously, having known Flum and whatever, and probably knowing her handwriting, probably knowing other things that would help her identify fakes. But these fakes could be a good thing in Flum's mind, because it perpetuates this idea that, right, that Flum wasn't really wasn't really there, or also not in that way, right? I'm sorry, that was kind of like I went down the wrong track with my thoughts. My general thoughts were Flum having all these fake books could have really helped her obscure the actual real ones, because we did find a real one with Eisen in the earlier episode that set us on a goal for 𝐸𝐸𝐏𝐿𝐏. So Flum actually putting all these fake books out, especially with 𝐸𝐸𝐏𝐿𝐏, and also now with the big magic defensive barrier that we found out, could have been a very useful thing for her, because people who would try to disable this barrier or harm it or whatever would pick up the fake one and not be able to do anything with that. So it's very interesting that the actual defensive mechanism of the region or of the city is being passed down from generation to generation, but it's being passed down kind of vocally, I would assume, because we do know that the grimoire is fake and it's vastly different from what the actual thing is. So yeah, but I also find it interesting because it could point in the exact opposite direction, that the reason why this fake grimoire has been passed on from generation to generation, and the people in Granat's family obviously know that it's not the same as the thing that's supposedly in charge of the barrier and explaining how the barrier works, is maybe that a descendant of Flums or a pupil of Flums maybe was in the Granat family, and that is how it got passed down over the years. Now, obviously, it could also be that just Flum had a lot of interesting contacts among the different noble families, because she helped them here and there, and she was a powerful mage who made a lot of useful inventions in terms of magic. She was also supposedly the inventor of human magic. However you wanna differentiate that from elven magic or demon magic, she somewhat founded magic for humanity as a species. We also have the recontextualization kind of Friern's mana suppression. We do now know where it's from, right? We do know the reason why Lord Lugner was had such a hard time properly assessing Friern's capabilities is definitely because she was able to suppress her mana this well, even though admittedly Friern's mana is in no way comparable to Frieren's, who has lived a long ass time and was very strong to begin with, and even thousands of years ago. There is still a great capacity in her, and we do find that out early. I think episode 1 or 2, where Frieren meets where Frieren meets Friern for the first time as a kid, and she's already saying, well, I almost didn't feel your mana. Your control over your mana is already really good. But I do obviously suspect, I think I mentioned that before, but I do suspect that 𝐸𝐬𝐏 has been starting to teach her that, seeing that Frieren actually suppresses her mana, which last episode, we did find out in that last flashback that we had of Frieren, where she thought back about the talk of her and 𝐸𝐸𝐏, about the goddess and faith and whatever. And Frieren says she hasn't done anything impressive, and then 𝐸𝐸𝐏 is like, well, I think it's very impressive what you do with your mana, that you suppress it like that, and showing he noticed, showing he's I think there was a sentence in ReZero that exemplifies something very well. It was, your parents are watching you closer than you think. And I do think that also applies to a degree. It also applies to friends, right? Your good friends, your companions, people who have been with you for a long time, they're watching you closer than you think, and they're really very observant when it comes to the things they're interested in, right? When it comes to things they might be curious about you and what you're doing and what you're capable of and all that. And sometimes they might even know more what you're capable of than you yourself. In this case, not, but I think Frieren, we talked a lot about Frieren having a hard time with emotions and stuff, and she developed in that regard immensely from the moment she met the heroes party to the end of their 10-year journey, and then even more after Himmel died, and she took that to heart and went onto this journey of introspection and started to know Frieren and talk, right, and raise her basically, or be raised by her, because sometimes it seems more like Frieren is the one who is the mother, because she's so adamant on her peculiarities, and also she's very conscientious, and she's very orderly in general, pays a lot of attention to formalities as well, and to doing things the right way, and morality, of course. But yeah, we talked a lot about that, but we didn't talk a lot about, and I do think that actually came up in one of the episodes, the one where we had Fern's birthday, that Frieren has a very hard time understanding how other people see her, right? She often glosses over other people observing things about her and is surprised about it later. She has a very hard time anticipating or predicting the reactions of people. We do see that in this episode as well, where it's later on. It's she says something along the lines of, let's skip this for a second. She's like, yes, this was a normal reaction. I still don't know what exactly she meant about aura, because she was thinking about aura in that moment. Some Frieren ass, okay. I ain't complaining. Yeah, this one, where she's like thinking back to aura, and then this is a normal reaction, but I don't quite know. Maybe one of you can, I don't know, Vincent, maybe you can tell me what she meant with that exactly, because it has been a very short sentence that I couldn't quite identify what she meant by that. But it kind of exemplifies that she has to think harder about how people react and interact with her in specific cases. Maybe I'm way off the trail with this, and this was something completely different, but I think that's kind of how I have seen that. Yeah, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, a very short note. It's really just a quick little note, and it's that Fern as a name actually means distant, and now I can see it. And after about a core of episodes, with the 12, we're full on the core more or less. Although the new arc just started, or rather we are in a weird in between thing. But now I can definitely see that Fern is is for sure very distant in her mannerisms. Even if she doesn't mean that necessarily, even if she has her cute moments, her bubbly moments as well. Fern is I mean, to be fair, Fern is somebody who was very young when she met Frieren, and I do assume that Frieren left a very, very big impression on her, just as 𝐏𝐲𝐿 did probably. But 𝐏𝐲𝐿 was more of a little bit of a jolly character, as the name goes, right? As the name goes. 𝐏𝐿 meaning merry, as we have established. But yeah, Fern has a very distant demeanor, very detached, very keeping people at arm's length most of the time, except for Frieren, with which she can get physical in various manners, but often in very warmth-seeking manners, I would say, like very she hugs her or peeks over her shoulder, or lets her sleep in her lap or whatever. So she's very doting on Frieren, which is again kind of funny, playing into that trope of she's more of the adult than Frieren is in some cases. But yeah, she can be very warm with Frieren. She's still distant with Stark, but it's more used by her, I think, as a shield, right? As kind of like sarcasm in moments where she's kind of slightly ticked off by him, or maybe uncomfortable with the closeness. In the case, I do think it was one of them was in the bar, although she was actually the one in the bar when they had to wait in the town because they couldn't go on because Frieren didn't want to tell who she is. We did have that one moment where he was eating the strawberry the strawberry cup, ice cream cup, and he was like she was like, we could be stuck here for 6 months and wanted something from Stark, right? She wanted that response of, yeah, I agree, I don't want to wait this long either, and she was getting in his face. But we do have a lot of moments where Fern looks at Stark, and Stark is being very... how do you say that? Stark is being very friendly, he's being very warm, he's being very affectionate in some of these instances, and she's like, no. Right? I mean, I think we had that when a moment earlier, before he was in that bar with the ice cream, where he was like, oh, you want to come along? And she's like, no, thank you. And that pattern has kind of continued, and I think that is their game that they play, as we have established. I mean, obviously, it's not. I don't think it's as easy as that, but this is definitely this is definitely the point of view, the one perspective or angle in which you can see this interaction, where they start to establish a spiel and dynamic between one another. And this is the thing, right? Stark is being affectionate or nice or weird, and Fern is being is rejecting him more or less, but not harshly, more in a sarcastic and joking or slightly annoyed manner. But we did see that building up somehow, and I do like how their relationship grows. So yeah, a really cool thing. Give me a second. I'm actually gonna get this hoodie off because it's fucking hot. Alright, we're back. Okay, we are gonna go through the episode a little bit. The last episode, episode 11, I do really like, as I said. Did I say that? I think I didn't mention it, actually. I do really like how Frieren adopts the habits of her companions as a way to honor them or think of them, right? That is a thing many people do. We do adopt some of the mannerisms or the way people speak that we really like to watch online, or people that we like to hang around with, friends, family, whatever. If they make a big impression on us and they're constant in our lives, then we do adopt these things. Or also, if they passed away and we want to remember them fondly, we also do that. Or maybe we try to learn the lessons that they were trying to teach us that we didn't maybe always pick up on in the beginning. And this is one example of Frieren honoring her late friend 𝐸𝐦𝐩𝐿 by being a little bit more respectful. She's being very respectful to the dead here, and I don't think nobody specifically actually sees her doing that. I mean, Fern sees her doing that, and she prays with her. She also grew up with 𝐸𝐸𝐻. Makes sense, but in that way, nobody really sees her doing that, so I don't think it's a performative thing. It's more her just trying to be more in tune with her former companions and trying to live by their word, more or less. And I do really enjoy that. I do have that little moment where Frieren was ready to fucking dip out. Like, alright, I'ma head out before you arrest me. But 𝐸𝐻𝐿 obviously decided to pardon her. 𝐸𝐻𝐿 does also find his son very, very touching. And we do have that one moment, like I said, with Aura, where I do like the sentence where it's like 𝐸𝐻𝐿 taught you well, and she's like, don't put it like that. Yeah, I like the I like the blowback. She's a little bit annoyed by that, but she also says, yes, I suppose you're right though. And she thinks about Aura and this being a normal reaction. And again, I still don't know what that means. Like I said, write it down in the comments. I'm very curious about that. And we move on. We get some rewards, the pardon, of course, and we do get the grimoire, the fake grimoire of Flamme. But I am pretty sure that even if it's a fake grimoire, Frieren probably could do a lot with it. There's probably a decent amount of knowledge in there, especially if my theory is right, and some of those grimoires might have been created by Flamme herself or a pupil of Flamme's. Then there could be all kinds of hidden meanings and secrets in there, or Frieren could read her own things out of it because she knew Flamme and she knew the way she worked and the way she expressed herself and all that. So there could be a lot of interesting things just beyond it being fake, right? Maybe the fake is more real than a real thing. Shout out to whoever gets this one. It's a great series. I need to rewatch it one of those days, but you know, I don't know. Rewatch reactions aren't that great of a deal, so might have to do that on my own sometime, or once I'm established enough, I'm just gonna dictator it in. Yeah, and we have the little joke about, and the callback to Himmel begging for his life when he disrespected the king of the central lands, I assume, and Stark being really scared about it, and the dude with the giant axe chopping the wood in the garden coming in this very moment. Of course he did. We have the disrespect of carrying him with magic, but although I guess it's convenience, right? And we have the Borger. I'm still fucking surprised they put this in. It's so fucking comical. I didn't even notice it the first time because I was so excited about the song. But yeah, Borger, everyone. Very, very goofy, very nice. And even Stark's having fun. That's really great. I actually did want to look at this again. This is kind of a remembrance song, but also a recovery song. It feels very much like one of those healing kind of genre anime songs where we're kind of contemplating on what just happened and trying to recover from it. But it has very interesting lyrics. We go through this at double speed, I'd say. I do hope that I'm not gonna get any copyright issues with that. The name has protected me as being called by that soothing voice of yours. Obviously, there might not be direct connection because I do feel the lyrics don't perfectly fit, but I see more and more elements of Frieren and Himmel in here, right? Soothing voice. Himmel had a very soothing voice in general. And then we have that, so that you won't close your eyes all alone. I'll embrace you, which was kind of the thing Himmel always perpetuated with his making their names known, right? And with other little gestures he did. We do have you joined your warm hands with me. We do have a lot of texts about not forgetting the people we're close to, and joining hands as companionship and friendship is being kind of kind of sung about here. And then beyond the night, where it's full of flowers, we do have the field of flowers earlier with Himmel, with the blue moonweed, and we do have the field of flowers that Frieren created earlier on, and we do have Flam who asked that please when you I don't think I remember it completely, but I think it was something along the lines of, when I die, please leave me in a field of flowers or something, or leave my grave with a field of flowers, something along those lines. So there's a lot of connections between Frieren and flowers, and it's really cool how we establish that, not chronologically, but with little callbacks. And if you just watch the series, you don't immediately necessarily notice, but when you think back on the series and you just ruminate on it or see a certain scene, and then you're like, hey, wait, there's another connection here. Flam wanted to be buried in flowers. She loved flowers, which was Frieren's first human experience, kind of. And then later on, we do have Himmel, who was really, like the rest of the Heroes Party, excited about Frieren being able to have the spell to make a field of flowers, which she had because she probably collected it because Flam loved that, or specifically for the express purpose of putting it on Flam's grave or burial site or whatever. And then she does that in front of the Heroes Party, and Himmel gives her a crown of flowers and says he wants to show her some of his hometown later, sometime later, and that sadly never happens. It's like so fucking sad. When you think about what could have been, it makes you really, really sad. But yeah, missed chances, right? If I don't know when or where I said it, but I think I said it in a Frieren reaction. I think one of the biggest regrets people have is not having done something, not having done the wrong thing, but not actually having done something, having had the moment where you could have done something, or but you didn't decide, you didn't do anything in action. But yeah, And we do have that with the Field of Flowers and 𝐏𝐢𝐏 being like that, and then she picks up the spell to actually do the blue moon wheat flowers. Actually, think about that. The giant colorful field of flowers. There's just all kinds of colors and all kinds of flowers were in that one when she made that in the church. Think about the amount of knowledge, like the amount of plants she must have collected in order to be able to cast all of these, because she knows how to cast flowers, but she can only cast the flowers that she knows, that she actually has seen, right? As far as I know. So very, very interesting and very significant to think about. And then we do have this unravel the darkness, right? So that the dream remains uncorrupted, which I'm still not quite sure what that means, but I guess it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. One of the, it is where you are, a place I will return to the Field of Flowers, which again lets it almost seem like it's Frieren going to 𝐏𝐢𝐏, right, to Aureole, to our destiny. But yeah, very, very nice song and very nice kind of montage, also showing not only that we had battled somebody and then moved on, but that we actually helped the people rebuild and get their damage done, and then we prepare to go out again and continue our journey. We're not rushing, we're not hurrying, and I think people like Fern and Stark, they gladly help, but they also have to realize that sometimes staying in one place a little bit longer can give you more of a feeling for that place and a connection to that place, and that makes it more significant in the end than just rushing from one place to the next. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean, Frieren, we should stick around for 2 years just to learn some magic spells, alright? Like, priorities. But she learns. She already learned a long time ago, where she was like, that's not that good for Fern. I know she doesn't have that much of a lifespan. So you have to always take the party that you have into account. And we have that little moment here where they discuss, wait, what is that? Antique. And we find out that Frieren is very annoyed by the bureaucracy of the world, and very annoyed that these pesky human laws and regulations are constantly changing. Honestly, I feel you, Frieren. As a German, bureaucracy is fucking hell. Fuck that shit. We could do with a lot less of that. But yeah, I mean, times change, obviously, and regulations need to change to adhere to that. And obviously, as somebody who is out of time, kind of, it can be very bothersome if you were here like 80 years ago or 100 years ago. You made your test and you did the thing, and now they're like, well, but that's not relevant anymore. It's like in university where you like have to, where the I don't know, the transcript you have has to be this year, and you have to get a new one every year if you want to do something, because I mean, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, she needs to prove she's a first-class mage, so they're making their way to 𝐈𝐧𝐻, which is farther north. So it's kind of on the way. I don't think I think they have to make a little detour, but I think it's so enough on the way that it's not too bothersome for them. But they actually need to cross the mountains for that. 𝐈𝐧𝐻 is, according to Graf Granat, it is across the 𝔸𝕓 mountains. 𝔸𝕓, by the way, meaning heavy or difficult. So I would describe them as both, probably, especially in the winter when it's snowing and whatnot. It's gonna be really difficult and heavy to get past them. But yeah, 𝐈𝐧𝐻 being farther north, but not far enough north that the Demon King's castle is anywhere close. So yeah, we still have a long way to go from what I can see here. But yeah, our next station is 𝐈𝐧𝐻, where we do where we will try to get this first-class mage certificate for Frieren, so she can pass further north because further north they don't allow anybody in here because it's too dangerous. And that makes sense, right? You don't want random tourists or citizens to go into an unstable region without at least knowing that they can kind of defend themselves. And that is what's being done here. And Frieren mentions, when they ask, they mention that actually, winter seems to be the #1 killer still. And isn't that ironic? If you think about, for example, World War II, or Napoleon, when they wanted to invade Russia. Every time the winter was the big thing, right? Hitler, the genius, didn't think about providing their men with winter clothes, or with enough winter clothes. I don't know if there was any, but yeah, fuck it. We will have one in the summer, and then you don't, and then bam, right? I mean, I'm glad it happened that way, but still, it's just Napoleon was the same. He marched into Moscow, and then, right? The harsh winters are something people, or the climate, weather in general, is something people do tend to underestimate, but it is definitely something very harsh, especially in a world such as this, and especially if you don't have magic. But even if you have magic, let's say you have magic and you can make a fire, that's gonna drain your mana. You can't keep that up forever. Yeah, you can try to get some firewood going to get it to get a fire going, but first you have to thaw the ground, and you have to thaw the ground at a place where there's no puddles or whatever, or right, you need dry ground, and for that the fires need to burn really hot, and you have to do that for a long time, like for 10-15 hours maybe, to actually get everything thawed and get everything ready to have a little place here where you can sit your ass down and you're not gonna freeze to death. Because if you've ever been sitting on stone or ice, or even stone, right? Even stone or normal ground in the winter, it's gonna sap your heat so fucking fast. Right? It's basically sucking you out for heat. And that's the dangerous thing, right? Hypothermia, you're gonna freeze to death. Even as a mage. So yeah, winter is the #1 killer. I do really like the theme in this one. I'm not gonna listen to it now because obviously we're not gonna want to anger the YouTubes. But I really do like the theme that they're listening to here. It kind of sounds very much like an adventurous theme, but also in a way almost like a sailor's song, like a sea shanty or something, or like an instrumental sea shanty, obviously, right? With these slow, rhythmical beats that are going on, like you want to describe a harbor or something. I don't know why I know this. I mean, this is all implicit memory, right? That you learn stuff growing up, and you learn to identify things and categorize them. Maybe somebody else sees this completely differently, but this is how I perceive it. Like, and no, I can't. I can't do it out of the. Wait, give me a sec. Right? See? This is what I mean. It's kind of really very interesting, very cool. And we do meet Stark, the priest. We talked a little bit about it, but I do think that it's very important to empathize that Stark, first of all, despite being a priest and maybe not necessarily having to, you do see he has a lot of physical prowess and training, according to Stark's good eye. And that tells me something about him already, which is that he's very disciplined, that he keeps a routine, that, right? But there's more interesting things about Stark, him being about Kraft, him being a man of faith, despite being as long-lived as he is, despite being an elf. And we were wondering last time if maybe Kraft has the same faith as 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐿, or if there's just general common sayings between men of faith, and if there's different religions. but they're saying somewhat the same things. And yeah, again, Fern here being very distant, but we do have that we do have that talk, elf to elf, very interesting, the first little encounter between two of the same species who lived this long, and Kraft also expressing his sadness later, or all his struggle, and the reason why he found his faith, being that he lived that long and had to kind of deal with that. All of the companions he ever had died at some point. And I find it very cool and very fascinating how faith can serve as this long-term motivator, right? Something to keep you up, to something to hold on to. And I think I wrote it down somewhere here. Yeah. Faith as a constant in your life, right? As a constant to hold on to, something that doesn't die or go away or change with the times. And at the same time also as a reward, right? Because you do want that praise, you do need that. We talked about shortly talked about the hierarchy of needs last time, where we did establish that people do desire this, right? This feeling of accomplishment and being praised. And obviously that is also an aspect of, I would say, even not even external, it's an external motivator, but it's also, it can kind of transition into internal motivation, right? If you're being praised a lot for something, and you do really enjoy doing it as well, and you do have a certain belief that you're doing the right thing here, or that it's something good to do, or that it's something to be proud of, and that's turning into internal motivation over time. And then it just goes on its own, right? It works on its own because you like doing it, you enjoy doing it, you're getting into the flow. But obviously that praise later on, or the praise of your friends, of your family, they appreciate what you're doing. That's very important for people very often. And for him, all the people who could do that are gone, especially the things he used to do. I mean, the things he does right now, he might get praised for it every once in a while and thanked. But he has done a lot of things in his life, and I do also feel like maybe there's a connection point that, much like Frieren doesn't want to forget the time she spent with 𝐏𝐲, but also the things she did with them and with 𝐸𝐹, he doesn't want to forget these times either. So he hopes that once all of this is done, he can see his goddess and he can talk about it, and she can say, I've seen it all, and I'm proud of you, and all of that. And I think that is a very, very human, yeah, I mean, a very human thing to, very human desire to have. But yeah, that is a very cool thing. Yeah, we also do see Kraft and Fern kind of hitting it off. We have that in various moments. I don't think it's here. She's very distant, right? You do see like the room is very split. We do have Frieren. She doesn't give a fuck because she's Frieren. She just gives a fuck about being warm right now. But Fern is to the side, and she's like very. Right? Her body language says, I don't know who you are and I don't trust you yet. So there's that distance. But we do see Fern actually hitting it off with Kraft later on. Somewhere when they actually start. Interesting, by the way, they're praying. I'm gonna say something about that a little bit later. But Fern and Stark seem to really also just like to talk with Kraft after a while. Actually 6 months passed in this time, by the way, and I didn't notice in the last episode at all, because this is kind of just sprung on you sometimes. Sometimes there's like the thing, oh, it's been so many years, but it's not. I mean, obviously I have to pay more attention to that, because every time it pops up there has been somewhat of a time skip. But it's insane. I didn't notice those 6 months being done. I thought it was maybe a couple of weeks or month, or yeah, one or 2 months. But 6 months is a lot of time. Anyway, I did find the section actually just now. very cool that right here is Kraft and Fern speaking, and I do feel like she's smiling, right? She's listening to him talking about probably the deities, because we do have these statues of deities that we pan to later when we do talk about the age of mythology and the goddess. And I do really like the small smile that Frieren has on her face. I do like every time that Frieren kind of silently observes Fern or Stark and Fern, and kind of gets that very small wry smile on her face. It warms my heart, because it shows that she's observing her and she cares a lot about her, and she's enjoying the fact that Fern gets along with people and talks to people or enjoys things, as we have seen with the sunset. Yeah, and here we have them praying together. If you look at the first time they are praying, Frieren already starts eating, and Stark is also eating. Very interesting, huh? But if we look at the second time, we're gonna wait just a second. I don't want to skip over it 3 times. If you look at it the second time, well, actually, the second time that also Frieren is still, Stark adopted it. Frieren is still eating. She don't give a fuck. But I think the third time they're actually praying, all of them. And that shows to me like this growing connection, right? First it's just did I say Fern? I mean Frieren. First it's just Fern, because Fern obviously was used to Heiter, and Heiter was a priest, and she grew up with him, so she's very closely connected to these customs and to praying before dinner and whatnot. And I think that's the way they got to talk, and that's the way she warmed up to him. Later on it's Stark, because Stark, I do feel like built a lot of his connections. I mean, first of all, he built his connection probably through the physical activity. He's like, okay, come on, we're gonna train together, whatever, right? Because he noticed that immediately. He's like, well, you're really well built, you're really strong. And I think that's how he engaged with him and kind of got into connection with him. And then he saw Fern warming up to him as well, to Kraft. And then it happened, right? And now we have Frieren actually following along because of the group dynamic, right? And we do see, I do think that could also be kind of a sign that Frieren takes generally a longer time than everybody else to warm up to people and to actually form a connection and start, right, joining the habits, the rituals, whatever. But yeah, you do see the group growing closer. And then I think we talked about this enough last time with like the faith and what you want to believe in, that he needs that to praise. And we do have that sentence about, if you don't believe in the goddess, I'm gonna praise you instead, which apparently Heiter said as well, which made me wonder if Heiter and Kraft have the exact same faith, believe in the same goddess. Also, can we just appreciate how fucking adorable Himmel is with kids? Like, come on, Frieren. Oh, what a... That is an L. That is... I think that is the only Frieren L in the entire series, but it is an L. Yeah. Yeah, I do think this saying about like, if you don't believe in the goddess, I will praise you instead. That's interesting, because a lot of people of faith, not all of them. There's enough examples that I can think of which are the exact opposite. But a lot of people of faith react to people not believing with disappointment or rejection, and actually reacting like Heiter and Kraft does, where they're like, all right, if you don't believe, I can't do anything about it, but I'm gonna be here for you. That is an incredibly nice and warm thing coming from somebody who fundamentally believes in something and realizes somebody else rejects that belief, or is at least not of the same belief. People are very emotional when it comes to things that closely define their identity. So that's why you often find people when they're talking about topics that are very near and dear to their heart and very close to who they are, and if they're topics that they define themselves on with their ideals and their morals, then they're being very harsh often and very defensive and very aggressive, because once you start kind of weakening that foundation, once you start bringing decent arguments to the table, it's very hard for somebody who cannot immediately come up with a decent and logical and good counter argument to say, all right, I believe anyway, but, right? That's not just faith, that's just general themes. If something is very close to me as an ideal, I feel attacked if the foundation of that is threatened, and it's a natural reaction. But obviously civilized people and people who understand that, who are a little bit self-aware about that, they will try to calm themselves and keep a distance to that, and try to make a good faith argument about what they believe in and why they believe in it, or whatever the discussion is about. Yeah, almost done actually. We do have that little scene between Stark and Fern on the roof. I wouldn't have said anything if this is what it ended on, but we ended on this. And they look at each other, and that is like, for a second it stays like that. So are we setting up some hints? I mean, they're growing closer. They're being friends at this point, right? She helped him a lot. He helped her as well, to a degree. Although he's sometimes a burden, he's sometimes an idiot, a little baka. Yeah, but I would ship it. Not gonna lie, the shipping is strong. And we end on that that he thinks he's gonna see Frieren again, and I think so too. We don't just introduce a character and he's just gone for the entire series. Now, maybe he's gone for the entire anime. We don't know that, right? It's possible. The anime is not the entire series. But I'm pretty sure he's going to turn up at some point. And he's going to play some role. Yeah. I'm through my notes. My notes are a mess, by the way. I don't give a fuck about them anyway. But yeah. I don't write a lot down during the episode, so it is what it is. You know the deal. I would really all right. Let's let's do this again before we start the reaction. There's two versions of this reaction. There's a picture in the description down below. If you want to see that, you have to copy the link. Sometimes I have it in the comments. I don't always have it in the comments. I'm sorry about the extra work, but this is just how it works as long as my YouTube channel is still pretty fresh. Other than that, I do hope you would subscribe if you like my discussions and my videos and everything in general. I do also have a Patreon on which I do release Frieren around 2 to 3 days before I release it to the public as a little benefit to all the patrons. I do have 2 at the moment. Thank you very much for that, by the way. I appreciate it very much. I don't know if you came here with Frieren or Made in Abyss, but either is fine by me. I enjoy them immensely, and maybe write down which series, which video you first tuned in on my channel. Very interesting to know, and what the impression was in general. But yeah, I do thank you for that. Made in Abyss is in early access 1 week earlier. Sometimes I might drop a second episode, but that's also gonna go public then, right? If I decide I'm far enough ahead to be able to drop 2 episodes. But I don't know how it's gonna go. February is probably gonna be exam phase, so I'm gonna be very glad if I have a little bit of headway, so I don't have to set out a week, or at least not more than a week. And I can maybe make it up after the exam phase. But that being said, we're gonna get into the reaction. See you there. A real hero? Oh, this sounds like an exciting. 29 years after the death of him, yeah. What the hell, Frieren? Is this early? Why did she? Why did she? I'm sure there's no reason for it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. What a way to encourage. Might have not meant a lot for the trader, but... That's kind of typical, to be honest. Yeah, alright, Griffith. He has a dream. So, they're childhood friends, kind of, more or less. Amazing. I wonder how they met Aizen. Wow. Okay, that was early. That was early for her to give them that look. We were trying to cross that border. I wonder what's like why she's so tired. I don't know if elves can actually get sick. Still wondering why Fern. I thought so. She likes to jump to conclusions. She likes to jump to conclusions. The village of the sword. Okay. Ah, the real hero sword. Interesting. Okay, cool. And Himmel took it with him? Or maybe not, and he defeated them anyway. The Demon Lord. Alright, so Himmel took it. The Arthurian legend, alright. Frieren is a mood, not gonna lie. And because of the artifact, maybe. Alright, doing the good work. Being the witcher she is supposed to be. Good work, Stark. Holy shit. They're getting in some target practice here. Rolled and smoked. But I didn't expect anything else. And Stark as a warrior obviously is maybe drawn to that cave. Personally interested. Is that the Lord of the Mountain? It's a werewolf. I mean, that's how it goes if nobody's strong as you. Frieren doesn't even have to do anything, she has her squad. It's like two elite bodyguards left and right. The shield and the sword. Or the axe in this case. What are you peeved about, Stark? Oh, no, you don't. Why is it here? Did she bring it back or... Nah, it was a lie, right? And they beat the demon anyway. Wonder how that affected him. Oh, just like... Oh, I like that. And she liked that too. Mm-hmm. A real hero. Because it doesn't rhyme, right? That's how it is. Treated as a fool in the beginning, couldn't pull out the sword. But the original nature disappears at the end. They're the hero who defeated everybody and nobody remembers the failures, right? And those who do, they're getting angry at it or it's those who, you know, try to harm the person or the image of them. Appetite region, okay. Appetite. Are they gonna eat here? And have a feast? Oh, it's his birthday. She would have maybe gotten something. Well, maybe you want to think about it. Also a feat. Alright. I wonder what she's scheming. Holy, what the hell is this? Oh no, 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 you don't. Oh, man. Are you trolling? I hope you're not trolling. She's of course. Alright. And I can't believe we get denied the fan service. Where did this ring come from? What is it? Piece of paper? Something personal from 𝐈𝐦𝐩 or something? Oh no. He's just out there helping people. Amazing. Just strolling around, being a good Samaritan. You say that, but early in the episode you were accusing him of being a perv, despite him not having any motives in that regard. And that's the way you are, Frieren, right? It's just stupid. He just turned 18. At least he can read the mood. He's anxious. Just be frank, I guess. Wait, he doesn't know? Oh, okay, he isn't used to getting gifts, I guess. Alright. So he's actually not used to it. Come on, 𝐈𝐦𝐩. I mean, I guess it might not have been tradition for dwarves. Ah, okay, and because of his cowardice, he isn't weak, but... Stolz. Pride. Interesting. Interesting. And maybe he died Is that possible? He's considered a failure because he hasn't confronted the monster. He doesn't have the resolve. And it's his brother, okay. And that might be the father. What a way to talk about your child. How will he react? He's gonna, yeah. See, your brother cared about you, I guess. He ran away. Honestly, I think your brother might just be glad you're still alive. Himmel wouldn't have run, but who knows as a child? You don't know how he was. You better go along before she chooses a maid outfit or some shit. Right? Oh, okay, so... a bracelet, I guess. Is she cooking for them? Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. Reward hard work. I like that. I like that. Alright, I like that, Aizen. That's cool. Oh, okay, so they make it there as well. Recontextualize it. And obviously... Wait, he told him to run? I mean... Of course he still feels guilty, but... Yeah, as I thought. I mean, if you're not up for the task, right? I'm almost convinced we're gonna meet this brother. I'm almost convinced. He will be alive. And he's gonna be so proud of you. Oh, that was the piece of paper. Never tasted anything better. Oh, no. Frieren, do we need an intervention? Do we need an intervention? I think we need to have a talk, Frieren. This is an obsession. I mean, I don't mind it. Very, very nice episode. I went in with no expectations at all, to be honest. And we went onto a journey of true or fake heroes. We talked about some Nisamonos. And then we went, well, on a journey of family and appreciation and feelings, right? Communication. Talk about it. I don't know. I'm enjoying the song. Fine, we're not gonna listen to that, obviously. I'll see you in the discussion. Autofocus just freaked out on me. Anyway. Welcome back, guys. We're here for the discussion. Okay, I had a couple of minutes, drank something, ate a little bite, and we're gonna just start and talk about it, right? No need to delay. We do start the episode with Frieren being very exhausted. By the way, cold open into the intro. Interesting. We didn't have anything. I think we could have done that to the intro, but I guess it is what it is. Frieren faceplants into the snow. Something is weird. I'm not sure why she's so tired. Was she sick, or does she have a condition, or did she just spend all her mana getting them through this, or is she just exhausted, and why are the other two not exhausted? So that's one thing I'm wondering about. I mean, obviously it can just serve as a plot device where we have Frieren dream about something, and that's just our in this moment, and I guess that's a thing, like, that's a way we haven't used before to kind of get Frieren into that space of thinking back. And we do start out the episode with that flashback of Himmel and how Himmel and 𝐸𝐬𝐏 were childhood friends. Who fucking knew? That's a very cool thing to see and contextualize and whatever. And 𝐸𝐬𝐏 was an orphan, very interesting. I mean, I say childhood friends, but we don't know how old they exactly were. When 𝐸𝐬𝐏 told him because he has a fake sword, he's always just gonna be a fake hero. And what is Himmel's response? Very fascinating. His response is, well, I'm gonna do it anyway just to prove you wrong. That is a very resilient coping mechanism if I've ever seen one. And we do see that theme going on again, right? He can't pull the... I mean, we actually come to it later, and I think I'm just gonna jump there. We go to the heroes... Not the heroes village, the sword village, which has this legend surrounding it, where the hero's sword, which seems to also attract monsters, so it does have some magic capabilities, is supposed to be drawn from the stone, like in Arthurian legend, from the hero who will destroy whatever calamity is gonna destroy the world. And I do wonder if this demon king, demon lord actually turns out to be not the calamity in the story, or if the story itself is completely fake and made up and just was supposed to be getting people to go out there and adventure and try to defeat the demon king and go on that journey. But what happens if they come to the village, they try to pull it out, and then suddenly they realize, I'm not the chosen one, that's got to destroy some of them. Not Himmel in this case, and that is the amazing thing about him. And I do think that's just proves once again how incredible he is in terms of his mentality and whatnot. As a kid, he's already saving people from monsters, but not only that, but whenever he gets a setback, his response to that is to see it as a challenge, right? And that is one of the most healthy coping mechanisms out there. If we do look at the transactional model of stress and coping by Lazarus, which is one of the most famous, most talked about one in psychology, we do have that right here in front of us. I'm gonna pull it over. Probably gonna put it on the screen right now, and we do have a stressor coming in from the environment, right? We do have constant stimuli coming in, things that happen around us, with us, that happen to us, people that talk to us, whatever. Stressors are coming in, and then our perception is perception filter. The selection of our perception is obviously the most important thing, right? Things are coming in through our ears, through our eyes, and they're deemed as relevant or irrelevant, and obviously our prior knowledge, our worldview, and all of that is being applied to that perception as well. So this is coming into me as a person, and then I'm appraising the situation. I'm appraising the stimulus or the stressor that's coming in. I do perceive a stimulus as positive. It's not gonna stress me, or it's gonna give me positive stress, right? Sports is a very good example for that, right? I'm being very, I'm going to my absolute limits when jogging or lifting weights or doing some kind of professional sports, and I realize that I'm hitting the absolute maximum, and I'm really exhausted and whatever, but I'm pressing on, I'm burning on, and that's positive stress because I do experience it as positive, as a positive experience, something I want, something I seek. Now we do also have irrelevant appraisal stuff that's like coming in and we're like, okay, whatever, routine, it's gonna work out pretty well, I've had this 1,000 times. And then we do have the dangerous ones, right? Challenge, threat, harm, or loss. And these three are very important, right? But we do know stimulus is dangerous, potentially dangerous, and that doesn't mean that it's dangerous to our lives necessarily, but maybe it's dangerous to a position on the job. Maybe it's dangerous to us, as in we do have to do a lot of work to counter this or to fulfill the purpose, the request that is coming in, whatever. So, and then we have three appraisals that we can put on that, right? The appraisal is it harm or a loss? Something happened and it's done, right? It happened and I lost something, or I got hurt, or somebody else lost something or got hurt. Is it a threat, right? Something that's looming over me, or that's coming towards me that is very dangerous? Or is it a challenge, as in I know I have the capabilities to actually overcome this? And that is what determines the secondary appraisal, which is if I do think I do have insufficient resources to actually deal with the stressor, I'm experiencing hard stress, right? Negative stress. And if I do think that I have the sufficient resources, and I do see it in my perception, my primary appraisal, it was perceived as a challenge, because in most cases stuff is perceived as a threat more, or at least that's what the original model says. Stuff is more perceived as a threat if you do have insufficient resources, and more as a challenge if it's sufficient resources. And the coping in this form of stress, if I do have insufficient resources in the moment, is trying to be problem focused, right? Change the situation itself, do something that makes the situation different or be perceived in a different context. Or emotion focused, right? Change the relation to the situation. I don't care that much about it, or maybe it wasn't realistic to begin with, right? But Himmel goes, in my opinion, into the problem focused area, where he's like, if I overcome the challenge anyway, it doesn't matter that I had that setback right now. It doesn't matter what people say about me, that I'm not the true hero or whatever. If I overcome this, I'm gonna be the true hero, and it will not have mattered. And that's the thing. But also you could see it as emotion focused in the moment, right? Because he's changing his relation to the situation as well. He's changing his relation in the form of, he's like, okay, you know what? This was a setback, but I choose to see it as a challenge, and I choose to see it in a way that I just have to work harder to overcome this in the end. Now, we don't know what he's seeing on the inside, right? Don't know what he's seeing on the inside. We only know from the earlier scene that we have here, from the earlier scene we have here, that he has that mentality of, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And that's why we are assuming in the later scene that his inner thoughts, even if he's probably disappointed, even if he's probably feeling down and he's feeling a little bit, right, that pang in his chest, he's still seeing this as an opportunity to prove himself, and he doesn't see it as an impossibility, that he can achieve great things. And that is one of the things that make him the hero in the end, right? Because as we've established before with Stark, it isn't the lack of fear that makes somebody courageous. It is to actually get that resolve and push through the situation and master it, or right, not master it. in some cases you don't master it, and you had the resolve, you had the courage, but it wasn't enough. But yeah, to push through that, right? And that is what he's doing here, on an emotional level, on a motivational level, which must be really hard for him, not gonna lie. I mean, he's certainly not gonna be like, oh yeah, whatever, right? That's not the way he is. He takes a lot of, he puts a lot of meaning in words. He puts a lot of thought into what the people around him feel and see and experience. He puts a lot of emphasis on helping people and becoming that hero. That is his dream, and that dream possibly being threatened must be a really stressful thing for him. But he has a good way to cope with it, and he has companions that stand by his side and believe in him, and that's incredible. That is very important, even for everybody who is dealing with issues or stress or whatever, to have that support system that stand behind them and have people that believe in you, that are there for you. Anyway, this scene is incredible also because we do see that, interestingly enough, Frieren, from a very, very early point, I mean, she's definitely liking the situation in general. She's having an aha moment, a moment where she's like, well, this is this, right? A feeling that is almost indescribable of having this connection to this party, even though they just started out with their journey. But then Himmel turns around and you do see everything is going in slow motion, and the petals are flying and whatever, and he's smiling at her, and she's absolutely flabbergasted. And that tells me kind of like that very early on, I'm becoming more and more convinced that very early on Frieren has been very infatuated with Himmel to begin with, and it makes this whole story even sadder. But yeah, I mean, I'm shipping so hard, it's incredible. I mean, I'm shipping two at this point, but yeah, more on that second one later. Yeah, I don't know. Himmel just radiates in her perception. He's absolutely shining. Not in this not in this one. It's very interesting. There's a shadow on him, but you feel that. You feel the mood of the scene is incredible. Yeah. And I am actually going back to the snowfield. We do have that little comedy skit and scene between Stark and Fern, where Stark's like, well, I can hold her in front of my hand, and then she has that little eye twitch, and she doesn't want to give Frieren to Stark, which I find very interesting, because there can be multiple reasons for that, right? There could be multiple explanations and motivations going on inside of Fern here. She does obviously have that assumption of him maybe having perverted thoughts, but what that tells me is that the first thing Fern thinks of when she thinks of that is perverted. Like, it's going into a perverted direction, which is very interesting. Oftentimes I do feel that a lot of people who are very sensitive to call out stuff like this before it even happens, right? Tell other people, hey, you're having these thoughts or you're having those thoughts. They're the ones who thought of that first, right? They're the ones who assumed first. But yeah, we do have, once again, we do have that judgmental side of Fern coming to the forefront, which isn't her best side, but it makes for a very interesting comedy skit. And I do wonder why it bothers her so much that Stark would be carrying Frieren. If it's that she has a very protective instinct regarding Frieren, or if it's actually that it would bother her on some other level. You see, I'm actually shipping it. I just want this to be a thing. Maybe it's a little bit wishful thinking, but we had several moments like this now in the story where you can be like, okay, they're growing closer. That's a definite, we can say. They're growing closer. They have more of a relationship. They have more of a connection and care about each other. At the same time, I do feel there could be more in the subtleties of those scenes. Yeah, and we're coming to the sword village, and we talked about this, the hero sword. The interesting thing being that Frieren later mentions it. By the way, amazing. I said it in the reaction. It's like Frieren has two badass professional bodyguards. She doesn't even have to do shit. She gets protected by Fern and Stark, and they're elite fighters. She's basically training them, just having a little bit of assistance here and there, keeping up her name. She's the hero, and they're the mage and the fighter, which is really cool. All we're missing is Kraft, our monk, who went on another journey. Once again, it's amazing animation. I really do love how Stark's animation is going. Right here and the swipe there and that impact shots. Right, it feels really crisp. It feels fast. It feels powerful. They saved a little bit up on Fern, just put a bunch of explosions in there, but that's fine. She got her shine in episode 9, which was incredible. I do wonder if these... I mean, she doesn't know the wolf specifically, but I do wonder if she was in this area. I mean, we know she was there before, but if she was there after Flam already, even before Himmel and whatnot. And yeah, we talk about this. We do have the Himmel chat moment of I'm gonna do it anyway, right? I'm gonna prove all you wrong, and that's amazing. But Frieren remarks that the sad, or she remarks in a sad tone or with a sad connotation, that the people themselves are being forgotten, and all that remains, in my own words, all that remains are the only partially true stories, right? Things are being made hush-hush. If somebody is the hero, he can't have a flaw, because otherwise everything that happens in his name, and that it could be sullied in a way, right? The image, incredible. Even in this medievalish fantasy world, you do have an image to uphold as somebody who is a role model of society or of civilization or of any specific given nation. Frieren being late is nothing new at this point, so absolutely okay. And we do actually have a feast in the town that's called Appetit, or the region that's called Appetit, which is appetite. So we stay on theme here. Frieren just wants to read her memoirs, and she by the by tells Fern that it's Stark's birthday. Which, interesting, I wonder if she just wanted to get them out and make sure that Fern and Stark are out for the day, so she can prepare her stuff that she has for Stark. But she thought of it afterwards, so I can only assume her intention was to get them to become closer. Be that she's actually shipping them Loki, or Frieren a shipper. Is Frieren a shipper? Or that she actually just wants them to get along better. Either works for me. Also, holy shit, they go crazy with that fan service, aren't they? Feed people, this is where you feast. And yeah, Frieren wants to give Stark the glove dissolving potion. Oh my god, Frieren, I can't with you. I can't with you. I want to stay on track. I want to stay professional, but this is just too much. But Frieren, what are you doing? What really trips me out. What really trips me out is the apparent glee on her face, right? That incredible glee on her face. Like, what is this? Why are you enjoying this so much? This idea, right? Look at that smirk. Like, what the fuck? Is there something I should know about you, Frieren? I asked that in a previous episode. Is there something I should know? Because from what you've told us, elves don't have that many emotional or reproductive instincts. So what is going on there? Are you just a child? Is that the mental state you're in? You're like a teenager who learns about these concepts for the first time and you're just laughing about it? Or... alright. Moving on. Fern plays the trick and we don't get to see it. Oh, boo. Boo. Anyway. We do have the ring, which I find very interesting. She picks it up first and she looks at it very oh wait, and I do think she remembered something here, right? She closed her eyes and it was just a little bit too long, and I wonder if we do see that flashback later on in a later episode or not. But she puts it back and she puts it down very gently. She doesn't just chip it in or whatever. So it's, I mean, she kept it all this time. So it's something important. Either it's a magical artifact, or we do see in the intro, in every intro, we have seen this. We do. I'm scrolling. It was somewhere around here, but it's I don't know if it's right here. Let me see. Kraft, the older brother. We're gonna talk about him as well at some point. I wonder if this. Give me a sec. I wanted to see if this is actually Stark standing at that. No, that's not Stark. Interesting. So we do have another character that we're at some point down the line we're gonna meet, and he's looking at a statue of probably 𝐏𝐢𝐏 and Frieren. It looks like 𝐏𝐢𝐏 and Frieren, at least outfit wise. But that was a little tangent. We have it right here. That's what I still wonder what the doves mean, right? I do connect doves generally meaning wise either with freedom or with a happy occasion like a marriage. So very interesting. And we do have that, right? Zooming in on Frieren and 𝐏𝐢𝐏, and we do have that exact ring. So Frieren, you better haven't rejected a proposal, right? I'm gonna be mad. Anyway, we're gonna moving on, and we go into town, find out that Stark is doing a lot of good things for people and enjoys doing that. Just strolling around doing his stuff. And I do think there's this, it's very interesting, this back and forth of Fern learning more and more about Stark and gaining more respect and more respect for him and appreciating him more, but then immediately witnessing a moment of Stark being his usual Stark idiot self, and she pulls back immediately. She's like, oh, holy shit, this guy's such an idiot. Right? And he is. Stark is a dunce, he's an idiot, he's not self-aware, but yeah, and he is a kid sometimes, but hey, he just turned 18, okay? By the way, interesting that he turned 18, right? We could have gone with anything. We could have gone with 19, 20, we could have gone with 17, but he turned 18, so is the story trying to tell us something? I don't know. But yeah, he's helping a lot of people, and then he's staring at the clouds, and she's like, okay, let me join him, and has her smile on her face, and then he's like, oh, these clothes look like boobs, and she's like, no. It's like this, I don't know, if you spend enough time with somebody and you have a certain belief, at some point something's gonna happen that's gonna confirm your belief. You can't just give too much about that immediately, but you know. And now he's like, right, it goes from horny teenager to child with the turd, and she's like, oh no, let me listen in on that. And she's a sneaky one, okay, like listening to people around corners. And then he says something about her. Oh, I'll have to tell Fern about them later. Which she takes, yeah, she's not sure how she's supposed to respond to the turd clothes. Me neither, Fern, but it's alright. And she was about to tell her, and then she's like, what is this disgusting human being? I think you're a little bit lying to yourself, Fern, but also I get it, okay? The immediate response. You're very judgmental. I'll forgive you, okay? If you forgive me. But he reads the mood, unlike Frieren sometimes. I mean, she's got mad at that as well, so no question. She knows how people work. And most of the time she knows how to respond to it. So, And he's genuinely bothered that she seems to be mad with him, which shows that he really likes her. If he likes her, that's a different story, but he likes her. And then she decides to just be frank with him, and we talk about how Stark never had a birthday present, seemingly. He actually did, but seemingly never had a birthday present, and we find out about his father, who seems very strict and disappointed in him, which is very unfortunate. This is not how you raise a child. Like, even if you're disappointed in your son, you're not gonna show it, honestly. Just find a way to turn that into motivation to help teach him more stuff, right? And then we have this overly focus on, like, right, village of warriors, and obviously strength is very important, and also bravery, and we had that talk before, how in the Western society, but even in Eastern society a little bit, cowardice is these days has a very negative connotation. If you flee out of fear, even if it's something you can't handle, it's gonna be cowardly, right? And that's bad, but you survived, right? You did the right thing, technically, not the morally right thing, maybe, depending on the situation, but you did the right thing for your own life. And believe it or not, the person who technically should come first is always yourself. Obviously, there's a lot of important people around you, and you should take care that you appreciate them and that you're there for them. But when it comes to a life or death situation, maybe you can, obviously, right? Brother, father, mother, child. There's a thing about, like, altruism in family that's very intrinsically motivated, of course, and also obviously you do have your own reason why you want your child to survive, because it's your progeny, it's your right, you helped raise it and were there for it, and it's the continuation of your genes, right? It's instinct. But this sole focus on one thing, right? Strength and bravery. And Stark has strength, right? It's in his name, but even beyond the name, which might have been an expectation that was put into him, right? If you think about why is it somebody called, obviously in this case we do have always kind of names that fit the character, but also, have you ever thought about this? Maybe the character fits the name because the name came first. Somebody was named something, and then that has certain connotations and expectations that come with it, and then the person grows into those expectations. Either they reject them, that is one response, do the exact opposite, or maybe they try to embrace them. Either they embrace them and are successful, or they embrace them and have struggles, and maybe they're being admonished for it, and that's not a good thing, right? That's not a good experience. There shouldn't be expectations put on you from the get-go, and then right, from the moment you were born, without knowing what you're maybe talented in, what you're interested in. Yeah, but the brother is nicer. What was his name? I know his name means pride. I don't know what the German term was they used. Stolz wahrscheinlich. Yes, Stolz, which is pride. Very interesting. He looks very prideful. He looks very proud, and he looks like he grew into that name. But he also seems to be very kind, and we do see that he gets mud on his thing. And this is the defining character moment, right? Is he gonna snap? Is he gonna be angry? No. It's his brother, and he's like, good focus. He's definitely a little bit peeved about getting his clothes dirty, but he's gonna be like, all right, you know what? He didn't mean to. And he trains with him, and yeah, and this is his memory. Interesting, this traumatic memory of him running away and abandoning everyone. He has all of this survivor's guilt, right? Survivor's guilt. But we find out a little bit later that this isn't all this is, and Frieren actually picks that up, that this is something that weighs very heavy on him, and she tries to build him up again. She's like, the Stark I know isn't gonna run away. And he's like, well, I might in the future. She's like, we won't let you. And on the one hand, that's because they're gonna be like, don't bullshit around, do this. But on the other hand, it's also because he has that close connection, right? And he can't abandon them at this point. And he has learned that, I mean, he said at this point, he likes them enough to not run away, and she has trust in that, I think. And then we have the hamburger stick that 𝐈𝐦𝐩, that seems to have been a tradition for 𝐈𝐦𝐩, and 𝐈𝐦𝐩 gave them to Stark on his birthday and to the heroes party on their birthdays as the reward for a warrior that worked hard. Yeah, and his brother did too, apparently. And he never knew, right? He never knew the meaning, the significance of it. But 𝐈𝐦𝐩 said, right, there was this memory in the heroes party. Frieren said, well, oh no, 𝐏𝐬𝐏 said it, I think. We're not warriors. and 𝐈𝐦𝐩 is like, everybody who works hard is a warrior. And that is, if that isn't philosophy to live by, right? If that isn't a cool, a nice, comforting thought. Everybody wants to be rewarded or praised for their hard work, and this is the culmination of that, and it completely recontextualizes how Stark not only sees what 𝐈𝐦𝐩 did for him in some way, he already has a lot of warm feelings there, but also what his brother did for him. And I guess it's gonna increase the guilt, I'm afraid, right? Because at this point Stark doesn't have the realization and the context that his brother wanted him to run away because he knew he wasn't strong enough for this, at least not yet. And he didn't want him to die. So he was like, I'm not sure if I can protect you in this situation. I might survive and be able to overcome this, but if you better run away so you can be safe. And he wanted this. But this is what Stark totally blacked out, and all the guilt he felt, and all the guilt of surviving and running away being taught to him, probably among other things, by his father, and by his village in general, that it is a cowardly thing, that is a bad thing, a shameful thing. And he conflated that and thought that what he did was run away when all his friends were in trouble. He did, but he did so after his brother told him to run away. Yeah. And then we go back to the potion. I've had my piece on this. Fern needs to work on her judgmentalness, right? She's a little bit too fast on that, even if it's funny. Frieren, you work on your whatever it is, right? We're clear? We're clear. Yes. I guess that's it for the episode. I don't know how long we're on here. Let me just check for a second, actually. Oh yeah, I mean that's a decent discussion, I think. It's not as short as the last one, and I'm really happy that we have more to work on now. And I really love how the pacing goes in the sense of we do have action-heavy arcs or couples of episodes, and then we go over to a more calm transitional thing where everything is a mood, right? The entire episode is a fucking mood. I mean, the entire series of Frieren is a mood, but the entire episode is more or less a mood, and then we go over into more characterization. We had that with Fern, we had that with Stark multiple times. Now when we met him later on with his fight with the demon girl, I forgot her name, I'm sorry. Something with Lina, something along those lines. And we had that with Fern, right? With her early days, and then later on with the back and forth between her and Frieren. And now we have it again with Stark, the big focus on both Frieren and 𝐏𝐬𝐏, which we haven't had in a while, which I'm very happy about, that we get more context here. And then we go, it's almost effortless that the series manages to make these insanely smooth transitions between one topic and the next within the same episode. And it's not always a clear-cut half-half, although we have half-half most of the time as a very clear-cut structure, but the themes are interwoven. And that is very impressive for a series that only uses, as most anime, 20 to 25 minutes for an episode. Yeah, and we had that characterization now. More characterization for 𝐏𝐬𝐏 and Frieren. More for Stark towards the end of the episode, very cool. And more of the relationship between Stark and Fern, and how it's slowly growing and budding. And I'm a little bit of a shiver there, and I did see some moments which are really nice and adorable, and could hint towards something. It doesn't have to be, right? I'm not gonna be mad if it's not. I'm gonna be a little bit disappointed though, because I really would love to see that. It's very interesting how those two personalities, that they're kind of in some ways they're really connecting on some points, and the others they're clashing, which is kind of really a cool combo, and they have good chemistry on screen. Like the animators and the voice actors did a really good job with that to kind of put that in. Yeah. But I think that's kind of it for today, for Frieren episode 12. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than 11 even. 11's certainly not a terrible episode, but like I said, it felt more like a very moody episode where you can't get that much discussion material out of. 12 felt more like a mix of the last episode and more of the meaty stuff again. So I'm really happy about that. If you do like my videos, please leave a like, leave some comments, tell me what you think about the episode, what you liked about my videos, right? Yeah, if you want to see more, subscribe. I do also have a Patreon. We do have early access for Made in Abyss, 1 week early at the moment, and we do have Frieren coming 1 or 2 days early most of the time. So if you are interested in that, check it out. And we also do have, just for people who just want to support in general, we do have a $1 tier where you can just get a Discord role and just have general support for me as a channel. You also can vote in polls. Made in Abyss and Frieren is gonna go for a little bit. I might pick up a 3rd series in, I don't know, in March or something. I don't think it's gonna be this year that I'm gonna pick up a new series. It's gonna be in March or end of February or whatever. I'm gonna start with the polls, maybe in January, February, see what we can determine. And if you want to vote in those polls and be part of deciding what I could look at next, check out my analyst. It's down in the description below or on my channel in the links. Yeah, check that out. See what I've already seen. Maybe you can figure something out that you would like me to see, that you think might be a cool thing for me to experience. Anyway. That's been it. I'll see you next time on Frieren, and if you want to, also on Made in Abyss.